Join us for a review of the new VW Touareg R. Let's go! The Touareg comes standard with LED headlamps and optional matrix LED. Here in the Touareg R version you can see that the front graphic here is blacked out, so a lot of black used instead of chrome. Usually also these parts here would be bright chrome, and they are all then in black here in this R version. The length is at 4.88 meters, 16 foot or 192 inches, and of course for the R it's the very same. Today I'm entering the stage from the front. Beautiful side profile here with the Touareg. First of all, it has a classic building style with rather upright windows. You see here the tinting of the windows, and wheels come from 20-inch standard for the R up to 22-inch. The ones you can see here, of course, really big menacing style. 20-inch will give you the best comfort. 22-inch will look most striking. In the rear we can see the black contrasting spoiler right here to the lapis blue color. Then the modern tail lamps here for this new Touareg generation, has it ever since. And then there is the e-hybrid badge here together with the R badge. So when you have just the e-hybrid version, just with a little bit less horsepower, then you also have the e-hybrid badge, but not the R badge. Yeah. Okay. Then in the lower part you have once again the black contrast right here, and these exhaust tips here, they are actually one piece with the real exhaust, so I think we can take it that this is still the real deal. Engines for a Touareg, you still get a 3-liter V6 diesel. The 4-liter V8 diesel was cancelled now for this top version, and here this is then based on this 3-liter V6 petrol engine. You can still get it just as an internal combustion engine, but here then in the hybrid models there are two available. Either this then here combined with an electric motor and 380 horsepower system output, 600 Newton meters of torque and 5.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. Or here the true R model, this one then, 462 horsepower for the system output, 700 Newton meters of torque and 5.1 seconds is the acceleration figure. Classic all-wheel drive, 40% in front, 6% in the rear, and then varies a little bit. So the electric drivetrain that does not influence the all-wheel drive capabilities. That's of course a good thing then here, because you might want to use it all silent off-road, for example. Battery size is 14 kilowatt hours net or 18 kilowatt hours gross. That's not too big for a car of this size here. So the pure electric range, like a little bit more than between 40 and 50 kilometers, 25, 30 miles. So classic for a plug-in hybrid. And recharging AC and 7.2 kilowatt max. So at a proper charging station, takes just roughly 2 hours to put it back on 100%. That's double the speed of a Passat GTE or a Golf GTE. Getting inside, of course, with a shoe tap today, because we have a little dirt situation. And the seating position, as we know from the Touareg, really comfortable. You sit really upright, and this area is so cool that you have like this even loading sill between the outside of the vehicle and the same level on the inside. This creates a very distinctive feeling when sitting here. With 1.86 m or 6'1", we still have enough headroom, even though there's the panoramic roof in here. You do not have to go for that one, but of course you can, and it really leaves a lot of light in the interior, and also the opening is actually quite wide, so it's definitely a cool feature. Then you also have a special LED lighting here in the top part next to a frameless back mirror. And once again, a good overview, so it's one of the big SUVs where you still have a nice overview all around you. Electric seat control here. There's also a seat massage function available if you like. So a lot of choices. Oh, yeah. Maybe I stick with this relaxing massage here for a while. See you soon. Now the interior overview. Soft touch dashboard. Again, the beautiful blue contrast stitches and nice ambient lighting here. So a quite sensual setup. The steering wheel can be moved up and down electrically and also in and out. Put it all the way in now so you can better see the digital instruments. And a base Touareg would come with smaller displays, but here this one, the Touareg R, already gets the 12-inch on the left and the 15-inch on the right. If you get for a base Touareg, also just feel free to go for the smaller infotainment screen. It will be a little bit easier to use. This one is a little bit like over-engineered, I would say. Soon more details to both of these screens. Once again, a perspective here on this new steering wheel, which looks, again, quite cool. The steering wheel heating is also available in 3 levels. You also get some kind of a haptic feedback. You also hear it, but it's like one button. And then you can switch around here, something for the digital instruments. On the left, and then the cruise control. But here it's like with one small step, or like a bigger step in for 1 or 10 kilometer steps. And there's like an ongoing development here. Soon also in the driving part, more to that thing. Then in the middle console part right here, you have this slider, a lot of black piano lacquer being used. And in the front body there's an inductive charging pad for your phone. Also USB-C charger then, if you connect the cable. CarPlay or Android Auto uses the cable then both in the front and also in the rear is both possible. And here is a little bit complicated again to use the infotainment system. This GPS map, which looks quite fancy, and this is actually quite responsive also if we compare other newer infotainment systems they are offering. Then here for seat cooling or seat heating, here there's the temperature control. Using that while driving is a little bit complicated once again. You always have this iPhone home button. You also have the gesture function, but yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes not. Not sure if I would really trust on that. You can here with one finger use these inner menus, and then like with 2 fingers you swipe then the whole menu. So that's like the difference. You see here 1 finger there and 2 fingers then from swipe to left to the whole right side. Digital instruments, they're actually quite clear to read. You can switch what you want to see on the inside here, like assistance systems or a part of the map. And you can also switch around the whole view that, for example, you can have the map all over the place. That is the biggest advantage of these digital instruments. And on the left side, you'll be able to see then like this power meter goes up to here. This will be then the electric driving. And when it stops here and goes beyond that, then you see there's then like the classic RPM meter. As for the rear compartment, you have a lot of space indeed. That's a cool thing about the Touareg, and also the same styling here on the interior. Also the back part has somewhat soft touch. Then you have the manual shades here for the rear. There we go. Like this, but the windows here in the R version are already tinted, so you probably don't need it that often. And you can also see there's a big middle tunnel, of course, with this huge climate unit. That looks pretty fancy, but of course sitting in the middle part of the seat then it's not that comfortable, but still works. I can show you. More important is that we have adjustable rear seating. So first of all, this bench goes forward and backward by 16 centimeters or 6 inches. That's actually quite substantial. Like this here all the way in the front, you have a longer trunk, or in that way you have most legroom and There's really a lot of space then left in front of my knees. You sit relatively high here. That will be good for the kids. Still with tall adults, it works headroom-wise. Will be a little bit more than without the panoramic roof. So there's no plug-in hybrid compromise for the rear bench. Is there one for the trunk area here? By the way, this lower part is quite thick, so it's not too tall than for tall adults, indeed. What is cool is that here this cover automatically goes up and down together with the electric hatch. That's a very practical solution. Here we have like a secure solution also for the charging cable box. You can also put like upright like this, that it doesn't take too much space and width. In general, you have the same trunk, just a little bit, see, it's a little bit loss in height right here, like this step, and you also don't have anything below that. Usually you would have like also more space below that, so that's what you lose. A little bit then in the height and the cover below that. Other than that, it's actually quite okay. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the new Touareg R. It is also a plug-in hybrid, as we said earlier, and that's why we can start all electric, pure silent. And that's so cool in this big vehicle. And when we look at the total range, that's a little bit complicated with the steering wheel. So here the total range would be 625 kilometers, 580 kilometers with the consumption, with the ICE, internal combustion engine, and 45 kilometers pure electric. But we can also pull it back here to this sport mode, and this is then combined both powers. And let's see, acceleration first one, 50 to 100. Let's go. And that's already it. That was almost 110. So really good performance. 5.1 seconds is the official acceleration figure, 0 to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and 462 horsepower, this total system output. When you think about the e-hybrid, the non-R version, then it's basically the same vehicle, also same powertrain and so on. Just the total system horsepower output is then different here with the R, and here also have the 100 Newton meters of torque more. And this is, definitely you feel this difference, but it would not be, like it would be a completely different vehicle. The all-wheel drive is just the very same as with a normal combustion engine, because this additional electric drive does not interfere with the all-wheel drive system. It's not that the electric motor would take over one of the axles. It's really just that it comes on top. So it's basically in front of the transfer case. So that means then this classic rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive just remains the same as it's as you're used to, basically. So rear-wheel biased, more torque at the rear axle, a little bit less than on the front axle, and that's it. And that's also a good characteristic, first of all, for some sporty driving, definitely, but also for off-road driving. So this car is also in the very same way, off-road capable as the normal combustion engine. And driving off-road can also be interesting, because when at these slow speeds you can also drive all electric. Then here on the motorway we can also set the cruise control here with this new steering wheel with the with the capacitive buttons. This can be tricky at times because it's not that intuitive. You set the cruise control here, or deactivate again. You set the travel assist here with the second button. Travel assist then here updated with this version works up to a speed of 210 kilometers an hour, and this really keeps the car in lane. And also, there's quite flawless assistance systems here with the blind spot monitor as well. This is a very helpful feature, definitely. And here you can basically relax and let the car almost do everything. And that's totally fine. So this is here once again the blind spot monitor. When you hit the turning indicator, then it begins also flashing as an additional warning. And here, see here the travel assist also keeping me in the lane when I get off the side just a little bit. Sometimes now it's not really clear like if it's activated or not. You always have to check down in the lower area there. And to increase or decrease the speed, here you can either press like slightly for 1 and 2 kilometers, or now I see you can drive a little bit faster and press it harder in for 10 kilometer steps. This is the same as in the ID3 or in the new Golf 8, but recently different in the Volkswagen Tiguan facelift, because Volkswagen realized that hardly anyone realizes, and sometimes you don't really get the right pressure for like a little bit for 1 kilometer steps or more for 10 kilometer steps. And now in the Tiguan, the same as when you have the steering wheel that is non-capacitive with the real buttons, +1 or -1 is on set and resume, and the 10 kilometer steps are then on plus and minus. So, and I think that's also then the overall, better solution, definitely. And one more proof of performance when we are already at speed. So from 100 kilometers or 60 miles, we accelerate further out in the sports mode. Let's go. That's 180 kilometers an hour, so pretty impressive, and really smooth acceleration distributed over both axles. Actually also quite interesting sound performance as for that, and definitely you feel this additional electric boost there you have. You will also have that in the e-hybrid non-R model, but again, just with a little bit less than a second of a difference in the acceleration figure from standstill. So especially from standstill, it makes then a difference. Other than that, then in the higher speed regions, it's also not then too different to the combustion engines. But remember, this new R model also replaces the so far 4-liter V8 diesel, going away from, especially from the very big diesel engines. And power-wise, definitely is a good replacement. If it's also a replacement as for the fuel economy, that once again depends on the driving profile. Once again, lane change here at higher speeds. You can see that the car remains pretty stable, although we don't have the roll control. It would have been sportier than with the anti-roll control, but here still remains really upright. And again, even though we have the 22-inch wheels mounted, it still delivers us a good comfort. So sportiness and comfort is both given, but once again we can say that the Touareg is rather comfortable niche. Then if you compare it also the Audi and the Porsche competitor, the sibling, they want to be sportier, the Touareg more comfortable. At the same time here, whoa, really good punch. Once again, 190 kilometers an hour, really nice. One more lane change here, so good control of the car. The steering, by the way, as for the feeling, so when I deactivate all of the assistance systems and also deactivate lane assist here, pressing the left column, then hitting OK, then I have more control of the car. Still like in the very low degree areas here, could be a little bit more feedback. Other than that, the steering is actually quite progressive, so I don't have to steer that much and can keep both hands at the steering wheel at all times. So here also when I do lane change, not much steering is actually needed. That's actually fine. But again, here in this area, a little bit more feedback would have been cool. Close, yeah, there we have a good speed again. And so overall, it gives me a good control feeling here on the motorway. And now to our conclusion for today with the new Touareg R. First of all, in the styling, I think that works very, very well. It looks very sporty, still is really elegant, even with these, dark, menacing accentuations and so on. But of course, the color is always very striking here, the typical Volkswagen R color. So styling, I would say, check. Interior styling is also good. However, the user interface is to me a little bit complicated at times. The new steering wheel is great in handling. However, the capacitive buttons are not that easy to use. And also the infotainment software could be a little bit fast and also more intuitive to use. The offering of space is very good, and among these big SUV here in this segment here is also one of the best and also one of the most comfortable as for the seating position and so on. Here for the R model, sadly no alternatives to animal skin. For the e-hybrid, a little bit less horsepower tune. However, you can get, not in all markets, but in a lot of markets, you can also get the fabric seats. As for the driving experience, a very comfortable driving experience as usual, we know from the VW Touareg. The V6 petrol engine is in general a very nice one, also with a good performance. Here then combined with the electric drivetrain gives you a really good boost, a really good punch. That is a lot of fun to drive. They emphasize, however, with this car that it's not super sporty as, for example, a Porsche Cayenne. So rather soft also from the suspension setup. You can vary it a little bit then by the wheel choices, rather stay on the comfort side with the 20-inch wheels or make it stiffer, a little bit sportier like this here with the 22-inch wheels. But still, even with this setup here, it was a comfortable ride. Well, but does it make sense to put it here with the R version? Price-wise, it's a little bit tough to swallow when you think about like a German reference price, 60k euros for an entry Touareg, and then here 85 for this one with some more extras. You easily get like towards 100, but you can add all the extras to it because, for example, the rear axle steering is not available for the R model nor for the e-hybrid. Yeah, and that's also one of the major downsides because I think the rear axle steering is one of the best features the Touareg has to offer, and it drives so much better with it. Sadly, not offered than here in the plug-in hybrid model as explained earlier. Price performance-wise, of course, the normal e-hybrid would make more sense. You have a little bit less power, but basically the same drivetrain. You can also get the fabric seats on the inside and you just pay less money. But here, of course, you have the very striking exterior design. So an even better price performance would just take a base V6 Touareg, of course. The V8 diesel is no more, was just there for a very short time. If you're interested in that review, we also have it on our channel with the V8 TDI. So feel free to tune into that if you're interested there. What do you think about the Touareg R? Leave us your comments in the section below there. Let's discuss here the new Touareg R. Maybe also check out the Tiguan R, a little bit smaller version. We recently also did a review on that. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Always a pleasure to have you here on our channel. And by the way, fuel economy wise, yeah, that's also a thing. So we did a longer run here with, some electric driving, but also a lot of motorway. And then we almost ended up with the same consumption with the normal ICE. So that's in about 10 liters on 100 kilometers. So some 20 mpg US, 25 mpg UK. There the electric drivetrain does not help so much. You can use a little bit of the recuperation, of course. It optimizes it a little bit more. But even more sense, of course, when you have this combined mix and you have, electric driving moments, especially in the city or where it's like changing topography and so on. So if that makes sense, really depends on your driving profile. Last thoughts now. See you next time.